Today, we're going to tackle one of the most feared diseases out there, Alzheimer's. But we're going to flip the script on this, because this isn't a story about something that's inevitable. No, this is a story about empowerment and how the choices you and I make right now can literally change our brain's future.
So let's just start with the single most important number you need to see. 95%. Let that sink in. That's how many Alzheimer's cases are not locked in by your genetics. This one number changes the entire conversation from something scary and out of our hands to something we actually have a ton of control over.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. For the vast, vast majority of us, what our brain looks like in our 70s and 80s is really just a reflection of how we lived our lives in our 30s, 40s, and 50s. It's all about our daily habits, not some destiny written in our DNA.
Okay, so first up, let's get a real sense of the scale of this epidemic, but I want you to keep looking at it through this new lens, a lens of prevention and the power that we all have. As of right now, we're looking at about 60 million people around the world living with Alzheimer's. And yeah, the projection is pretty startling. That number could triple by 2050. But here's the crucial thing to remember. That's a projection. It is not a prophecy. This trend is something that we have the power to change.
So, where are all these cases even coming from? Well, this chart tells the whole story. Look at that massive 95% slice. That's lifestyle. Only that tiny little sliver, about 3%, is caused by what scientists call deterministic genes. These are mutations that pretty much guarantee the disease. For almost everyone else, the ball is firmly in our court. To really understand how to protect the brain, we first have to get what we're up against. So let's take a look under the hood and decode what's actually happening. Okay, so people use these words, dementia and Alzheimer's, almost like they're the same thing, but they're not. Here's an easy way to think about it. Dementia is the big category, kind of like the word car. Alzheimer's is a specific type of car, like a Ford or a Toyota. It just happens to be the most common type of dementia out there. Now, this timeline right here reveals something that most people just don't realize. Alzheimer's is not really a disease of old age. It's a disease of midlife. The damage, the bad stuff, it can start happening silently in our 30s. And then it just compounds year after year, decade after decade, until the first symptoms finally show up in our 60s or 70s. That long, silent runway is exactly why starting to prevent it early is so incredibly important. So what does that damage actually look like? Well, here you go. On the left, you've got a healthy brain. It's full, it's dense, with lots of plump gray matter. And on the right, that's the brain of an Alzheimer's patient. The change is just devastating. You can see the brain has literally shrunk. The gray matter is shriveled up, and those fluid-filled spaces have gotten bigger just to fill the empty space. So how is it possible that two people of the exact same age can end up with such different brains? Well, the answer lies in this really fascinating idea in neuroscience called cognitive reserve. Honestly, the best way to think about cognitive reserve is like a savings account for your brain. Seriously, throughout your whole life, every time you learn something new or challenge your mind, you're making little deposits. And this builds up a buffer, a kind of resilience that lets your brain keep working just fine, even when it starts to face some of that biological damage we just talked about. Now, here's where it gets wild. This quote points to a really strange paradox. Scientists have done autopsies on people who had brains just full of amyloid plaques. That's one of the classic signs of Alzheimer's. But in life, these people had zero memory problems, none. And then you have other people with very few plaques who had severe dementia. So what was the difference? You guessed it. The ones with no symptoms had built up a huge cognitive reserve. Their brains had basically learned how to work around the damage. Okay, so this brings us to the most important question of all. If this cognitive reserve is the key, what is the most powerful, most effective way to build it? The answer might actually surprise you. So let's get down to it. How do we make the biggest possible deposits into this cognitive reserve? How do we build that resilience bank up so it's overflowing? Here it is. The single most powerful thing you can do to build a more resilient brain is heavy resistance training. And heavy is the key word here. The science is crystal clear that to get these amazing neurological benefits, you have to be lifting at an intensity of about 80% of your 1-rep max. All that means is you're lifting a weight that's heavy enough that you can only do a few reps with good form. This is about giving your muscles a real challenge. And check this out. This isn't some kind of magic trick. It is pure biology. When you make a muscle contract under a heavy load, it releases these little chemicals called myokines. Think of them like messengers. They travel all the way from your muscles, they cross into your brain, and they deliver a message. And that message is to produce more of this stuff called BDNF. It's like miracle grow for your brain that literally helps you grow brand new neurons.
And the proof for this is it's stunning. There was this 10-year study on identical twins. I'm talking people with the exact same DNA. And they found this incredible difference. The twin who had stronger legs consistently had a bigger brain, more gray matter, and did better on cognitive tests. Their genetics were identical. The only thing that was different was their strength.
Okay, so let's put all the pieces together. Here is a simple, science-backed plan that you can use to start building a more resilient brain, starting today. First and foremost, lift heavy things 2 to 3 times a week. That is priority number 1. Then mix in about 150 to 300 minutes of cardio. Think brisk walking, cycling, whatever you enjoy. Keep making those mental deposits by reading and, this is an interesting one, writing by hand. And of course, you have to support all of that with the absolute non-negotiables, good sleep, and a healthy diet. The evidence is just overwhelming. The power to build a brain that can fight back against aging is, for the most part, in your hands. The work doesn't start when you're 60. It starts right now. So the only question left is, what deposit are you going to make into your resilience bank today?